Here we are, folks, part 4. We're over the hump. We're on the downhill side for part 4 and part 5 of digital locksmithing, cryptography, and encryption. Let's just jump right into key management. So again, we're going to use Splunk's key management system, their key management lifecycle, as you will, as an example. It's very clear, easy to follow, right? So why key management? First of all, it is crucial in maintaining security in cryptographic systems. We need to manage those keys. We need to manage the cryptographic system as a whole, right? It involves comprehensive processes for managing cryptographic keys. You know, we've got to keep those keys secure as well, right? Processes involved, so generating keys, distributing keys, storing keys. I really would say this is a cryptographic system. It's a flow, if you will, okay? It's going to prevent unauthorized access, obviously. It's going to ensure data integrity. It's going to maintain the confidentiality of that sensitive information, such as PII, okay? And detailed examples will be provided. So here it is, generate, install, establish, certify, use, store, update, recover, and obviously revoke. Whether we're revoking ahead of the expiration because the key's been compromised, we no longer want to use it, it's no longer secure, or maybe somebody compromised the encryption algorithm that's being used, whatever the case may be, or at the end it automatically revokes. So key generation, it is the first step. It involves creating those cryptographic keys, right? Used to approved rules and a pseudo-random generator. So pseudo-random, this is not your random generator in Excel that can be easily figured out, all right? Generates 128, 192, 256, for AES, for example, and then as you saw earlier, RSA, up to thousands of bits in a key. So key installation, so setting up, configuring, testing keying material. This can be hardware, software. It can be like a TPM chip. If you're familiar with TPM, that's a great example, especially in Windows 11. Okay, that's where keys are stored, generated, etc. So installing AES key on both the sender's and receiver's device to ensure that both can encrypt and decrypt messages. In establishing the key, we have to distribute the key, right, between the two machines. So we have to figure out a way to securely transmit that key. That's why public-private key works really well. We never share the private key. It's, for decryption, okay? Can involve key generation, obviously. Certification of the key, so authenticating. This is where that certificate authority, right? They're going to make sure you're a legitimate entity. You've been doing business for a while. The higher the key you want, the more you have to go through financials, certifying that you are an entity, looking at your business license, looking you up, whatever it is, to make sure that you're not some hacker that's looking for an SSL, right? So that you can fool poor end users into thinking your site's secure. So, and yes, that happens. So HTTPS connection, where a website's public key is certified by a certificate authority, as we saw in that example. Then, of course, we go about using the keys. So, session keys and secure web communications used for a single session to enhance security. The only time that key can be broken and data can be encrypted is during that session. So, boy, does that make it really hard, right? Well, depending on the size and if you have a quantum computer, I'll give you an example of when we talk about quantum computing, how amazing it is, how quickly quantum is expected to be able to decrypt some of our modern cryptography today and get that key. So key storage, storing cryptographic keys, highly confidential, integrity, availability. There have been a couple incidents of CAs having keys stolen in the past. Okay, matter of fact, don't hold me to this, I'm trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure that CA had something to do with Stuxnet and certification of software, keys that were that were corrupted, if you will. So AES keys, often stored in TPMs, right, to prevent unauthorized access and tampering. So key update and recovery. So if we need to update or recover a key, I think the best example I can give you there is if you're using BitLocker on your Windows 11 machine, make sure that you get the BitLocker key and you store it away from your computer and you store it in a secure mechanism, because if you're going to store it away from your computer and not within Azure, for example, and not within a key authority, you're going to download it in plain text. There's the key. That's all you need. But you need that key if you ever have to restore your computer. You need that key in order to decrypt the drive in the process. So when you fire back up that backup, it's going to say, whoop, wait a minute, can't do anything. You got to give me the key. All right. So have that key, keep it secure. I tend to keep that within my password manager, hidden away. I know where those keys are. And also remember that if you've got multiple drives on your Windows 11 machine, each drive is encrypted differently. Each drive has a different recovery key. So make sure you download all those keys. We've talked enough about revocation, revoking keys when a digital certificate expires, or most importantly, when it is compromised. So if a certificate does get compromised, we can revoke it instantly, thus it's no longer valid. Okay, so that brings us to cryptographic attacks and countermeasures. Some of these may seem a little bit familiar from previous lectures, but we're bringing them back because they really associate with cryptographic attacks. So brute force attacks, right? This is where we would take that rock file and we find out what the hash is on a password. Maybe we've even, been able to get access to the hashed file where a bunch of passwords are hashed, and now we want to decrypt those. We do a brute force attack. We compare those with that rock file, and maybe we get lucky. So an example was 2013, Adobe data breach where attackers cracked weakly encrypted passwords. All right, so encryption becomes even more important. Strong encryption. Counter methods. Strong encryption. Oh, there it is, right? Long key lengths. The longer the key, the harder it is. Implement account lockouts. Encourage complex passwords and passphrases. Well, we've heard that before. Man-in-the-middle attacks. So in 2011, DigiNotar, a Dutch certificate authority, had their certificates compromised, okay, and thus were used within a man-in-the-middle attack. Why? Because they could decrypt the data because they had the keys, okay? Again, countermeasures, strong encryption protocols. Use that TLS over SSL even today, right? If you've got DES or triple DES in anywhere, get rid of them now. If you're still running a Wi-Fi router with triple DES, with DES encryption with the RC4 cipher, first thing I'd do is check all my log files to figure out how many times I've been hacked, and then I'm going to replace that with WPA3, okay, in our modern Wi-Fi. So implement mutual authentications, regular updates and patching of systems for vulnerabilities that may lead to the ability to decrypt data, right, through a flaw, if you will. So replay attacks, intercepting and retransmitting valid data transmissions to fraudulent repeat or delay them. Okay, side channel attacks, exploiting physical characteristics of the cryptographic system. Okay, timing of information, power consumption, whatever it is to bring down. And a great example is in 2005, an attack on RSA implementation via power consumption measurement. So figuring out how to get that key from how much power, is being used, if you will. So pretty interesting stuff there. Countermeasures and best practices. Well, strong encryption algorithms. Use the latest and greatest in encryption. So let me talk about, I'll hold off. I'll give you a little hint. It's not going to take quantum computers long to decrypt and find keys for our modern encryption mechanisms. Theoretically. Right? And I'll explain why in the next video. So mutual authentication, ensure both parties authenticate each other during communication, preventing those man-in-the-middle attacks. if I trust the person on the other end, no one in between is going to get that. We're going to use SSL. We're going to encrypt that data in transport. We're going to use AES to encrypt that data at rest, right, when it's on my drive. So using nonces, which, by the way, is just a fancy word for number once. A nonce is using a number once. It's a randomly generated pseudo-random number that is used only once in a cryptographic communication. Okay? Session. You get it. Constant time algorithms. Employ constant time algorithms in cryptography. Prevent side channel attacks, when we're, managing that time. Regular patching and updates. Boy, we hear that for everything, don't we? Not just cryptography. Patch those systems all the time. Make sure you're patching your hardware. Remember, what runs your hardware, like your routers, like your firewalls, is software. It's vulnerable. Patch it. Patch it often. Complex passwords and passphrases. Key management, secure key management systems. Again, your recovery key for your Windows 11 should not just be kept on a thumb drive because it's convenient, in plain text form within a notepad. All right? It's not a good idea. Don't do it. So that's it. We'll jump into part 5 in the next video. It will talk about legal and ethical issues within cryptography, within cybersecurity. We're also going to take a look at the future of cryptography and how it's going to be greatly, greatly impacted by quantum computing. Until then, I'll see you later. Have a great day and keep studying.